Hey folks, Ryan here from Mr. L's Gaming Rants and Reviews, and I've got a special triple header review for you today. I'm going to be taking a look at 3 games, count them up, 1, 2, 3 games from Alderac Entertainment Group, AEG, and it just so happens to be that all 3 of these games are designed by the exact same trio, the Flatout Games trio of Molly Johnson, Robert Melvin, and Shawn Stankewich. I'm going to be taking a look at the games of Truffle Shuffle, Point Salad, and 10. Join me at the table, and I'm going to show you exactly how to play all 3 games, and at the very end, I am going to give you my final thoughts on each of the games, and I'm also going to tell you the order and preference in which I like to play these 3 titles. Well, okay, I am all set up for a game of Truffle Shuffle. And it is very important to note that doesn't matter the player count, whether you're playing at 2 players, 3 players, or 4 players, that this game setup is always going to be the exact same. You shuffle up the big old stack of cards, and you deal 4 face up, 5 face down, 6 face up, 7 face down, 8 face up, and then 9 face down in this pyramid pattern, and it doesn't matter the player count. It always will look exactly the same. The only thing that's actually different between the player counts is how many of these bonus coins are available in each round. In a 2-player game, there is a 2, 1, and 1 available. In a 3-player game, there's an extra 2 available, and then in a 4-player game, there's an extra 1 available. And I'm going to get to what the bonus coins do in a little bit. And so Truffle Shuffle is a card drafting game. We are going to be drafting cards out of this pyramid structure. And you can only take a card that is actually fully been revealed. Notice that some of these cards are overlapped, especially in the later rows. They are already overlapped with some certain cards. So right now at the very beginning here, only the front row is available, which we only know the suit of each of these cards, but we actually have no idea what the value is on the other side. But once you get into the next row, you can see that we both know the value and the suit of that particular cards. Now, why are we drafting these cards? What are we going to be doing with these cards? We are going to try to fulfill certain order requirements, and that is what these fancy little reference cards are going to kind of tell us, is that, hey, once we've collected some of these sets here, these different types of sets, we can cash them in for dollar values. And that's what the values are on the right-hand side of the card. And essentially all of these sets here, I kind of like to say that they're very reminiscent of poker hands. Especially like when we start here, you got a small straight, large straight, and we've got flushes. So let's just kind of go over these one by one, just kind of give you an idea of what you're going to. So you can, at the basic, you can always discard 1 of every color. It doesn't matter what the values are, just 1 of each color, you're going to get $3. If you discard 4 cards of the same color or the same suit, you're also going to get 3 coins. Now, if you get a small straight, meaning you get a 1, 2, 3, 4 or a 2, 3, 4, 5 in any colors, you get $4. Now, if you manage to get a 1, 2, 3, 4 or a 2, 3, 4, 5, all of the same color, well, that's even worth just a little bit more points. And a large straight is getting the complete run all the way from 1 to 5. That's going to get you 6 points. And a large straight flush, you get the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way from 1 to 5, all in the same color. That's going to get you $9. It's actually a lot harder than to do than you would actually think. That's why it's actually worth quite a number of points. And then we've got our sets. And your sets are based off of the values of those cards. Like you get 1, 1. So a single number 1 card will get you $1. But 2 2s will get you $2. 3 3s, $3. 4 4s will get you $4. And 5 5s will get you $5. Now, if you manage to do those in a flush format, say, hey, you got 2 2s of the same color, $4. You double it. If you get 4 fours, all of the same color. That's $8. And you know, one of the hardest things to do in this game, 5 fives, all in the same suit, all in the same color, will get you $10. So these are what you're trying to aim towards, trying to fulfill throughout the gameplay. Simply just drafting the different cards. So just kind of like, you know, just run through a couple turns here. Let's just say player number 1 here is going to, you know, say take this one. And the only knowledge that other players will have is what suit you have. Now you can actually take a look at this one. For example, this player has a orange 3 in their hand. And then let's just say, okay, the next person comes along, saw that person take an orange. So now they're going to say, I'm going to take another orange. Oh, wait. Maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe they got a pretty good card under here. Maybe they got like a 4 or a 5. If player number 2 now takes this card into their hand, well, now this pink 5 is now available for the next player to draft. And so that is kind of a neat little piece about this game, is that you have to try to think about what cards are you opening for your opponent on their next turn potentially. And maybe you can try to draft them in a certain way that you kind of force them in order to take things. But right now the bottom is kind of quite open here. Let's just say player number 2 actually just decides to draft this pink card. Okay, they get a number 1. I can actually just leave these face up right now because I'm just playing by myself here. Okay, so now this guy's going to come along here. They're going to draft this orange card because now they got a 5. So they got a 3 and a 5. They really would like a 4. Hey, I see a 4 right there. That would actually be very, very handy to start collecting the run on here. Okay, now pink here. They would like another pink card. There is another pink card right there. Except for there is a special card hidden over here. This says it's a color change, which allows you to change the color of a particular card that you had. So when you decide to play, let's just say player number 1 here ended up with a green 4, but they also had this change color card. They could play it at the same time as when they cash in this set, saying, no, that 4 is actually not green. That 4 is actually orange in this case. So really quite beneficial to have these special types of cards. I see there's also some other special type of cards in here. There is a equal sign card, which means this just copies or duplicates an already played number card. And there are also some of these other special cards I can see. There's one right here that says skip. And instead of taking one card from this pyramid structure, if you ended up having one of these 2 special cards in your hand, you can actually choose to perform this action instead. Inside of the orange sets, sometimes you'll see a take 2 card, which simply means, hey, I'm going to play this card down and I get to actually draft 2 cards in a row from this pyramid. That's actually pretty darn good. Or hidden amongst the blue-green colors, there is the skip cards. And I can see one right over there. And what the skip card simply does is you play it down and you skip your current turn. And so then the next player is going to go. But then when it comes back to you, you actually get to draft 3 cards in a row. So you're giving up a current turn in order to take 3 cards in a row. These are very, very handy to incorporate. These take 2s and these skip 3s, there are not a lot of them in this massive deck of cards. So trying to find those every now and then is going to be quite beneficial. So we're just going to continue. Let's just say pink players just going to draft that one. They're going to get a 3 now. Okay, now orange. You know what? That change color looks really, really, really handy. But you know what? They're just going to grab this orange card over here. Oh, and it's a special card. It is a 3, but it can be counted as any color they particularly want, which actually could possibly be quite handy. Now I can see pink here. They're drafting a whole bunch of. They're collecting orange. Maybe they're going to steal this orange card from them. Oh, and look at that. They ended up with a take 2 card. Okay, so now we're going to take a look here. Oh, you know what? Don't want to let my opponent have that 5, so we're just going to take that 5 and draft it into our hand here. And you know what? We're going to go ahead, and these guys are going to, instead of taking 1 card, they're just going to discard this card in order to take 2 cards in a row. And 2 cards that they are going to take in a row are going to end up being, you know what? Maybe they'll just end up taking this change color, and they will end up taking this green card here, which actually ends up being a 5. And play is going to continue on like this, back and forth, back and forth. I can see like now this orange card is now here. So now we've got a 3, 4, 5. If we get an orange 2 now, we can actually cash in a small straight flush, which actually would be very, very handy. And notice now that we've gotten up to this level here, and this level is face down, we do not reveal it. Okay, it has to stay face down in order for the drafting purposes. Okay, and so we're just going to come around here. We're going to draft that one. Oh my gosh, another 2 5s. And then we're going to come over to here. I just want to try to get a set going on here. So let's just say, let's try this one, see what's underneath here. It's another 4. Oh my goodness gracious. And let's just say these folks over here decide they're going to draft a... Oh, you know what? Let's just draft a purple one. Let's see what is on the other side. Another, oh, a 4. So we got 1, 3, 4, 5, 5, and a change color. It's not doing us very much handy right now. And do you know what? Maybe we're just going to try this person here. This player is going to try to get in on the scoring action. They're going to draft this 2. And you know what? They're just actually just going to go ahead and they're just going to cash in a small straight right off the bat here. They're going to cash in a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5. They're just going to kind of do a whole schmoz. So 2, 3, 4, 5, a small straight. They discard them. And we take a look at the little handy prep. And a small straight is going to get us $4. And so you just simply take the $4. You put them beside you. And, hey, this is where the bonus coins come into play, because each time that you cash in a set that is of at least 4 cards, so at least a 4-card set, you get to claim the largest bonus coin that is available. So in this case, that was actually worth $6 to us. And then the next time somebody cashes in a set that's of at least 4 cards, you're going to get another bonus dollar and like that. And you're going to keep doing this, and you're going to do this actually for 3 rounds. There is enough cards in this deck that once this pyramid runs out, you'll set up a whole nother pyramid in the exact same manner and keep drafting cards and cashing them in for points. And then a third time it's going to come around and you're going to fill in. There's enough cards here to make 3 full pyramids. And that's a game of Truffle Shuffle. You just keep going around and around drafting cards, and there's no hand limit in this game. You could go all Ticket to Ride style here and just get a massive hand of cards, and then every turn you can just start just cashing them in for maybe try to get for big points. Or you can do what this player did and just try to cash in smaller amounts more frequently. Its play style is completely up to you. But that is a game of Truffle Shuffle. Okay, I'm all set up for a game of Point Salad. Now, Point Salad is also a drafting style game where we have actually 2 things that we're going to actually be drafting here. We're going to be drafting vegetables into our hands, and we're also going to be drawing point cards into our hand. Because this is also a set collection game, except for we don't know exactly what these what these vegetables are going to be worth for us. And these vegetables are going to be worth varying amounts of points based on for each player. Before I get into that, when you are setting up the game, you are going to have to pay attention to how many players are playing this game, because each of these stacks of vegetables, you're going to need to draw or remove certain amount of cards based on your player count. So you turn to this page in the rule book here, and it kind of outlines that for 2 players here, you just use 6 of each vegetable. In 3 players, you use 9 of each vegetable. In a 4-player game, you're just going to remove 6 vegetables from the stack. 5 players, you only remove 3 vegetables from each deck. And then for a full 6-player game, yes, all the way up to 6 players, you're just going to use all of the vegetable cards. All right, and that's pretty much the setup. You just take the cards, you mash them all together, you create 3 roughly equal piles, or in this case, these are 3 equal piles. And yeah, and then you just flip over the top 2 cards of the stack here to create the vegetable market, and then we've got the point card market, and you're ready to begin play after you've randomly determined who the first player is. And so on your turn, you've got one of 2 choices to make. You're either going to draft 2 vegetable cards, exactly 2 vegetable cards, or you're going to draft 1 point scoring card. And so essentially you're going to have to try to determine at what point in time am I going to be taking vegetables or am I going to be taking points, because I can start the game off by saying, you know what, my very first turn here, I am going to draft this point scoring card. There's not a lot, I don't see any of those vegetables out here. That must mean that they're going to be coming up. Maybe I will get them. So maybe I'll start off the game by drafting a point scoring card into my hand. And now it's my opponent's turn here. They are going to say, you know what? I'm not really jiving with any of these point cards just yet. Maybe I'm just going to randomly select a couple vegetables here. Maybe I'll grab 2 tomatoes. One from that row and one from that row. So I'll just draft 2 tomatoes here. And now I need to refill the market by just drawing the top card of each of the decks. There we go. And now you can see that replaced the point scoring cards from the columns that they were drafted from, and now it comes over to our next player here, or it goes on to the next one, and play is going to continue like this, drafting some cards here, like say, oh, there's a pepper for us. Maybe we'll draft a pepper and we'll draft a lettuce. Yeah, sure, we'll just do it that way so that we just replenish some of our cards here. And then now they take a look at, and my goodness gracious, there's not a whole lot of opportunities for us. Maybe we'll just draft this point scoring card into our hand. And then it is also important to note that at any time, once per turn, that if you're taking a look at your point scoring card and you'd realize it's probably not going to do anything for you, once per turn, you can flip the point scoring card over to its vegetable side. And in the corner here, it tells you what vegetable that particular card is. So let's just say this card isn't really going to do anything for us later in the game. Once per turn, we can just flip it over and make it its own vegetable card. And play is going to continue like this, back and forth or around the table, depending on the number of players you are, until all of these cards have been completely drafted. Okay, and then you take a look at your point scoring cards and see how many points you can score, and your opponents are going to add up their point scoring cards and how many points they're going to, and the person with the most points is going to win the game of Point Salad. All right, I am all set up for a game of 10, and this is literally all the setup is. Just have to pay attention to your player count. In a 2-player game, you're just going to use all of this deck of cards, and in this deck of cards here, they are not marked in the bottom right-hand corner. So you just shuffle them all up and put them in a big old stack. But if you're going to play with 3 players, you're going to take all of the cards here that have this kind of like 3 diamonds in the lower right-hand corner. You're going to take all of those. It just kind of adds in some extra 1s, 2s, and 3s of all the different suits. And, of course, a few extra currency cards get added to the deck. And then, of course, if you're going to play with 4 players, you're going to add in all of the 3-player cards and plus all of the 4-player cards, which will have 4 diamonds down in the bottom corner. And this is just going to add in some extra 4s, 5s, and 6s and an extra wild card in each of the different suits. And, of course, a few more currency cards. So I've got it all shuffled up and ready for a 2-player game of 10, and also make sure that each player gets 5 black currency tokens to start off the game, and then randomly determine whoever the first player is, and then they get to start taking the first turn of the game. Now, in this game, in 10, it is essentially a set collecting style of game, but you are collecting runs of numbers in the 4 different suits. There's the blue, green, orange, and reddish pink suits that you want to try to collect as big of runs as possible, because however many cards are in the largest run that you have of those particular suits are going to score you 1 point each, and whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. And so there's a few ways that you can acquire these cards throughout the game. And the main way is that you're just going to start drawing cards off the top of this deck here. So let's just say player number 1 here, they're going to start and they're going to draw a card off the top of the deck, and it's an orange 2. So now the value of this row, the value of their turn right now, is a value of 2. If the value of this turn ever exceeds the number 10, then they essentially what they call bust. And so there is a little bit of push your luck going on in here. Because if that value is ever 10 or more, more than 10, you can be equal to 10 and still be safe. But if you're ever more than 10, you bust. So let's just say, okay, 2 is pretty low. I'm going to decide to draw another 1. Okay, now it's a 1. That's okay. Now, I can make the choice here and stop my turn and just keep these 2 cards into my tableau, and now I have an orange 2 and a blue 1 to start my runs, or I can press my luck again and try to go for it. And you know what? I've only got a value of 3. I like to kind of try to get to at least 5 or 6 before I start making my decision here. So let's just say I'm going to draw the next one here, and oh my gosh, it is the orange 8. So now the value of my turn right now is 11, and I bust. And what happens when you bust? Well, all of these cards here that I could have these 2 that I could potentially have had, all go into now a common market, and you kind of have a set aside area that's a common market. Now these cards can be later purchased on another player's turn, and the purchase value is the face value of the card. So this is going to cost 8 currency in order to buy this into somebody's hand later on. Okay, so but I do get a compensation for busting. I do get a compensation. I get one of these white bust tokens, and these white bust tokens are worth 3 currency each. And I must also add that there is a limit on the number of black currency tokens. You can only ever have, you guessed it, 10 of them. You can only ever have a maximum of 10 black currency tokens. But there is an unlimited number of white bust tokens that you are able to collect. So just kind of keeping that in mind. Okay, so now play passes on to the next player. So the next player goes, they flip over their card. And oh, we've got one of our first special cards of the game. And this is a wild card. It is a value of 4, and this can be counted as any one of the 4 suits here. Now, this does not get added to their value of their hand. No. These special cards, they're very worthwhile, and they're very powerful for completing sets and everything. So this doesn't automatically go to that second player. This now needs to be auctioned off, and that is where our currency tokens are going to come into play. Since it is this player's current turn, it'll be the player to their left that starts off the auction. And this is just a once around the table auction. This is not one of those auctions where you just kind of keep increasing until somebody bows out. Nope. You only get 1 bid onto that card, and then the next player either has to beat it or they end up having to pass it. So let's just say here, like player number 1 here, they are flush with cash. They got their 5 black currency, and plus they got their 3 currency token. So let's just say here they're going to kind of really press. They're going to bid 2, and so now this next player, they have to either bid 3 or pass. And you know what? They are feeling quite confident. You know what? They're going to save their money. They will pass. So player number 1 here is going to pay their 2 currency, and now they have this card in their hand, part of the tableau. Now, they do not need... Now, the important part about wild cards here is that you do not need to declare their suit until the end of the game. So they are very powerful. They are very flexible. Okay, back to player number 1's turn. They got a card off turn, so now this is kind of going. Okay, now we've got a different type of card here. Now we've got these currency cards. Notice that they got the currency symbols on them. And these, for the purpose of the row value, these are negative numbers. So this is essentially, this row value right now is -3. Remember, I say you only bust is if you get a value of more than 10, which is actually really quite interesting. But there's also something else that's going to come along with these currency tokens along the way. So let's just kind of keep going here. Now we've got a value of 4. So now my row value here is -3, +4. So we've got a +1 row value. I think we can keep going a little bit more. Oh, auction time. This is another wild card, and in this case, the color has been declared. This is a color of blue, but this could be any number in the blue sequence that you want it to be. So also very quite powerful. So we pause the current player's turn and we start the auction. It's going to pass to the player on the left, and they are going to say, "Ooh, blue wild one. You know what? Yeah, we'll bid 3 on that one." And the other player here, he says, "You know what? I'm going to bid 4 and take that blue card away from it." So these are going to go away. Now there's different ways that we can get to 4 here. We can spend a white bust token that is worth 3 and a 1 single black chit. That is going to give me a value of 4. We can also spend 3 black chits and any cards that we have collected. If you think that this full wild card 4 is not going to be useful any other time, you can pitch this to the discard pile and be treated as 1 single currency. So there also would be 4 currency that I could spend. Or if I want to keep those black chits here, I could spend the white bust token and the card, and that would be also a value of 4 for the purpose of this auction. In this case, we are just going to spend the 1 white bust token and the 1 black currency token. And there we go. There's my value of 4. Now I also have this blue 3. Blue is a blue wild card number. It could be a blue 3 if I wanted it to be. Or it could actually be a blue 5. And therefore I already would have 2 points in the blue section. But I do not have to declare that just yet. Now it has to come back to, it's still my turn here. So my row value here is a value of 1, so we're going to keep going here. Oh my goodness gracious. So now I've got a row value of, we've got -6 and a +4, so we've got a row value of -2. And I can keep going here. And now I've got, oh my gosh, the 9. So now I've got a row value of 7. Okay, we've got 4 and 9, that is 13. And we've got -6, so we've got a row value of 7. And this is kind of usually where I like to kind of stop. So now this is a very interesting turn. We've got a couple options here. We can take the number values and add them to our tableaus. That's fine. If I take these into my tableaus, that is fine. They come over here. But with these currency tokens here, all the other players at the table now are going to get 6 currency tokens, or if they can't take 6, they take up to their 10. So in this case, this player would go up to 11, so they would essentially get all the way up to their 10 black currency tokens. Oh gosh. Or if I don't want to take the number cards, I could instead take the 2 currency cards, and I can get myself 6 currency, and these 2 cards would then come up to the market. But do you know what? The name of the game is collecting sets and runs, and that is a 9. There's only 1 green 9 in the whole deck, so I'm going to end up taking these 2 values. So I'm going to take these 2. They're going to come into my tableau. All the other players are going to get 6 tokens. But you see, okay, now they have 11, so they have to push 1 back, so they can only have a maximum of 10, and these 2 currency cards now get discarded. Now, since I claimed 2 values, I took 2 cards, I can actually buy cards from the market on the rest to finish off my turn. And you know what? Just so happens, I have a blue card. There's a blue card up there. I'm going to pitch 1 currency, and I'm going to take that blue 1 into my tableau as well. and now my turn is officially over. If I chose instead on this turn, let's just say I chose instead to take the currency, get 6 currency, and these 2 cards come up to the market, I do not get to buy from the market this turn. Okay, if you take the currency, you do not also get to buy from the market. Only if you take the card values do you actually get to buy from the market at the end of your turn. All right. So the play passes on to player number 2, who is not doing very well at this moment. They have not collected any cards. So let's just see what they can do here. So they get a 2 and a 5. So now they are at, their value is -3. So they can keep going a little bit. All right. So now they are at a value of +1. I think it's okay to go. Okay. They are at a positive, what is this? +7. Oh, they are at +5. This is great. This is okay. Well, let's just say they're really behind. They really want to kind of get. They're going to get into high gear. Let's go. And oh my goodness gracious, this is now the second way that you can bust. Notice here though that the row value here is only what is this here? There's a 6 and the 6 that cancels each other out. The row value here is only +1. So you think that you could still keep going. Except for the second way you can bust on your turn is if all the currency cards add up to more than 10. In this case, they do. The currency cards now add up to 11. So now this player busts. So they bust, so they get a white bust token into their collection here. All of these cards go up into the market. And when this happens, when a player busts with currency cards, all the players around the table get equal to the number of currencies. So in this case, you would get 11 currency tokens, but you can only have up to 10. So essentially, you refill everybody else's at the table's currency tokens in this case. So in this case, they would get a full 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. There we go. 10 tokens. And then these ones would get discarded. And that is essentially a game of 10. You're going to do this over and over and over again until this big old stack of cards runs out. And at the end of the game, you are now going to have various values in all of the 4 different suits, and you are going to count up your runs. So let's just say we had this particular run here. I got a pre-prepared run here. I have the 4 orange, the 5 orange, a wild orange, which I'll include as a 6, a 7 orange, and then a wild 8 that I'm counting as an orange. If this was my largest run in the orange suit, I would score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. And that's essentially it. Something really special, though, happens if you are able to complete a full run in a particular suit. If you are able to go from 1 all the way up to 9, you get an extra bonus point. A run from 1 to 9 is actually worth 10 points. Again, there's the number 10 is coming up here. All right. And whoever has the most points at the end of the game is the winner. Well, there you have it. All 3 games from the excellent design trio of Molly Johnson, Robert Melvin, and Shawn Stankewich, the Flatout Games group. My goodness gracious. Do those 3 know how to put out games? And they have this signature trademark that the games are fairly simple, like light in the rule set. There's not a lot going on in each of the games, but man, do they have a surprising amount of gameplay that you can get out of those games, play after play, and they just kind of get you. They kind of get you hooked. Once you play once, you're kind of like, yeah, let's kind of set up and let's do it again. And let's just do it one more time. And it has that positive effect. Let's take a look at the game Truffle Shuffle, because this is the game that I feel doesn't get enough love compared to the other 2 games. Point Salad came out of nowhere and people absolutely loved it. 10 came out last year and it was just an absolutely phenomenal blast. Truffle Shuffle came out and it didn't make the big splash, and probably for maybe a couple different reasons. Truffle Shuffle, out of the 3 games, does take the longest to set up. Yes, there is only just the 1 deck of cards, but you do have to arrange the cards in the big pyramid every single time. And laying out the cards in that pyramid style and making sure that they kind of like don't get fluttered around or anything like that does take quite a bit of time to make sure that it's kind of like all laid out, nice and properly. On the upside, though, you do not have to worry about all the different player counts in Truffle Shuffle because there's only 1 setup other than the bonus coins that go for it. Point Salad, on the other hand, is probably the next one that doesn't take as much of a setup, but the setup is still a little bit of a sore spot because you do have the 6 vegetable types and there are quite a number of cards. I believe there's 18 in each of the vegetable types where, based on your player count, you're going to have to shuffle up each of the vegetables and draw or remove the certain number of ones that you need for your player count. And then once you've selected the cards you need, then you need to shuffle all those cards together. And then you have to lay out the 3 probably should be equal piles and then start. So as I'm describing that one, that setup is actually really quite annoying for how much game that you're actually going to get out. It feels sometimes that we take longer to set up that game than it does to actually play it. Not a word of a lie most of the times. And then we've got 10 on the other hand, and 10 is probably by far the most straightforward to set up, as in, hey, you've got your deck of cards, boom, shuffle it up, put it on the table, give each player the little currency tokens, and you're ready to go. 3-player game, shuffle in the 3-player cards. In a 4-player game, also shuffle in the 4-player cards. You got 1 deck that's being shared amongst all the players. That game is absolutely 100% the fastest to set up to get going. So now that we got setup aside, now we've got the actual game play. And this is where Point Salad has a little bit of an edge because, my gosh, the playing is so quick. The drafting is so quick. You've got one of 2 things you can do on your turn. You can either take 2 vegetables or you can take a point scoring card. That's the only decision. So unless if you're playing with analysis paralysis players, turns are going to go by quite snappy in that case. Again, 10 has another little advantage in this one. Turns can be quite quick, as in, hey, I draw an 8. And you know what? I kind of need that 8. So I'm just going to draft that card. Boom, my turn is done. And the next player's got, okay, now they got a -1. And then they get a 3. And then they get another -1. And then they get a 4. And then they get then their turn, the cards could be compounding. And then all of a sudden they have to make a decision. Oh, are you going to keep the currency cards? Are you going to keep the actual valued cards? And so some players' turns take very, very quickly. Some turns could be, a little bit longer. And then there's Truffle Shuffle, which is kind of an interesting mix in the middle because turns are actually really, really short. You're only ever drafting 1 card, unless if you got one of those special cards where you're drafting 2 cards, or skipping your turn and then drafting 3 cards. The turns are actually very, very short here, but the gameplay is a little bit longer because you have to go through that pyramid 3 times. And so in our experience, Truffle Shuffle takes probably about the same amount of time as 10. Both games run about a half an hour, roughly around there. Point Salad, on the other hand, it's only running you about 15 minutes, 20 at the top. Like if you're really, really thinking about what cards, maybe it's 20 minutes. Like games are not taking a whole heck of a lot of time in Point Salad, whereas Truffle Shuffle and 10 are taking a little bit longer of time because you have to get through all of those cards that are in those particular decks. Now let's talk about which ones do I like, kind of like how I like to play the game, because essentially all three games are drafting style games. Now, and the way that you're drafting your cards or selecting your cards are very, very different. Truffle Shuffle is that pyramid drafting thing where some cards are overlapped and some cards are not, and you can only draft the cards that don't have another card on top of it. Very a la the Seven Wonders duel variant of Seven Wonders, where they have the cards laid on there, and love this, because you can see all of the cards, you can see the possibilities coming up. And in this version, there's some of that are face down, some of that are face up, so you're kind of maybe trying to lean towards trying to get certain colors, and you're trying to maybe force your opponents to take certain values so that you can guarantee yourself to get certain colors or even certain values. The strategy in that case is very, very strong. Point salad, things change very, very quickly on you at all the different player counts, because as soon as people are drafting vegetables, and all of a sudden that point card that you had your eye on, it's gone if they draft out of that row. So really you're kind of set to not really analyzing what's up there until it gets to your turn, because that board state's changing quite a bit as it's getting around to you. And so make sure you can pivot in point salad really quite quickly. At least they do give you that option that once you've selected a point card, if you find it's not going to be very useful for you, you can flip it to its other side to get a vegetable, and maybe that vegetable is a little bit better for you in some of your other point scoring cards. And then in 10, you are pushing your luck, drawing cards off that, and deciding whether or not you're going to keep going or you're just going to collect the cards, and hopefully that they fit in with what you're collecting currently. At least there's the bonus that if you've collected duplicate cards or cards that are not going to be part of a run eventually, you can use those as currency in both the auctions, and you can also use them as currency into buying cards from those market rows. So at least there's a little bit of benefit if you do end up stuck with cards that you know that you're not going to be able to do, because having currency tokens, bust tokens, and cards for those auctions is crucial, because those wild cards are very, very strong in your flexibility to create runs at the end of the game, especially the covenant ones of going from 1 to 9. Like, you want to do that because you get the extra point. You get 10 points for going for 1 to 9. And you can do it in multiple suits if the right cards come out and you're able to buy out certain wild cards. So, player interactions in each of these games is ever so clever. Less so in Truffle Shuffle, just because it's just drafting from a common grid. Like, sure, there can be a little bit of quote unquote hate drafting at the times, because I can see someone's collecting a lot of orange. I'm just going to make sure that they don't, even if orange is not part of my collections and everything, at least it could be a number that could fit into, like, say, a straight or a straight flush for me at times. Point salad, again, there's not much in the player interaction other than, hey, I took these 2 vegetables, now you can't get that point card, or hey, I'm taking these 2 vegetables here because I see that Ryan's collecting needs. He's going to end up getting like 7 points per tomato. I got to make sure that he gets, I don't want him to get any more tomatoes for the rest of the game. And then in 10, the player interaction is a little bit higher in the fact that there are the auctions, which kind of come into play, and really, really good design choice here, having just a once around the table, really making you think about what you're going to bid for each of those cards that come up in the auction. Those are some of my thoughts. Lots of things that I really enjoy about all 3 of these games. But which ones do I actually prefer? So the spoiler alert is that I've actually reviewed them, and I showed them in the order in which I actually prefer them. At number 3, I am saying Truffle Shuffle is my number 3. I think, even though there's a lot of it's a really good game on its surface here. It's actually simple to play. It takes a little bit to set up, and looking for And it does have, and it does suffer just a little bit from the Ticket to Ride issue of just hoarding cards until you can just start laying down really, really big sets and scoring lots and tons of points off of that way. We've seen that happen a number of times, but it is still a really good game. I just think that I prefer the other two above this one. If we had all three of them laid out, one of the other two are going to get picked before Truffle Shuffle. So then at number 2 out of the 3, I am putting Point Salad. And this is splitting hairs at this moment because both we love Point Salad and we love 10. But Point Salad kind of loses it on the, for us, it's on the randomness of the cards coming out. And that everything changes so fast from turn to turn. Even in a 2-player game, the card market changes so dramatically when somebody drafts 2 vegetables and flips over those point scoring cards, or someone's saying that's it. But in 10, my goodness gracious, the tension and the mathematics and potentially even the card counting that comes out, because there is a finite set of these cards here, and you can track of what's come out and what is coming up so that you can kind of weigh the probabilities. Maybe that's why we kind of prefer 10, because we are a quite mathematical household here. My wife being an accountant, myself being a calculus teacher, we kind of really, really enjoy the mathy part of this game, and also just creating the sets and the auctions. My goodness gracious, the auctions are always so tense, and especially it's like you're only got a finite set of chips, but do I dare bid an extra one and spend one of my cards that I think that is not going to be a very useful part of any of my sets? So yeah, there is kind of like my ranking, my personal ranking of the 3 games. I'm putting 10 at the top, then it's Point Salad, then it's Truffle Shuffle, and then Molly Johnson, Robert Melvin, and Shawn Stankewich are going to come out with probably another card game. I'm hoping that they come out with another card game in this AEG lineup that's going to throw a whole new wrench into this mix. I would really love to see if if another card game is in the works from this design trio. All right, folks, there is my thoughts about Truffle Shuffle, Point Salad, and 10, all designed by the Flatout Games Group and published by AEG. What are your thoughts on these 3 card games? Have you played all 3? I know Truffle Shuffle there was a little bit harder to find for a little bit, but Point Salad and 10 are quite readily available. Have you played them? What would be your preferred ordering of the 3 games? And maybe this video has shone some light. Maybe you want to go check out Truffle Shuffle and 10 as well as Point Salad. Please let me know if you end up doing that. So always leave a comment in this video about all of those different various things. If you're enjoying the content that's coming out on this channel, please consider subscribing and hitting that little notification bell to get notified when new videos are coming out. And there is a link in the description of this video to my new merchandise shop. If you want a good old, big old black and yellow Mr. Rouse Gaming Rants and Reviews t-shirt, go to that link at Teespring. I have it in the description of this video, and all the proceeds from those sales, portions of those sales, do go to supporting the channel. So thank you very much in advance if you are deciding to go that route. And I've got a few more designs I'm working on to try to get out into that world, because gaming is expensive, and running this channel, it's expensive. All right, folks. Well, I am going to officially close out the video saying that this review is officially over.